The first nanobot was born not in a sterile lab, but on the granite shoulders of an alpine cliff. A small startup, Wild Bloom Terraforming, chose to test its self-replicating miracle in nature's embrace. Amid snow-laced peaks and glacial wind, the nanobot fed on rock, air, and light, weaving carbon and silicon into green algae carpets that whispered across the landscape like spring's breath. It didn't take long. With a few grams of source material and an open-sourced codebase, humanity had cracked the secret of biological machine terraforming. The company didn't patent the nanobots. Instead, they published everything, designs, code, theory, on an encrypted open-access library called PanGaiaNet. Anyone with curiosity could access the schematics, and they did. From Seoul to Nairobi, from Rio to Reykjavik, curious minds uploaded the files, tested them on their own soils, and watched in awe as tiny living machines began sculpting life from dust. The moon was first. High in the Sea of Tranquility, where astronauts once planted flags, a dense, shimmering fog of nanobots released lichen analogs across the silver plains. Within months, fine root systems cracked the regolith, drawing up moisture stored beneath. In the hollow basin of Archimedes' crater, glowing mosses, engineered to convert solar radiation into oxygen, spread across jagged rock in flowing, iridescent tides. Soon, whole gardens bloomed under geodesic domes. Crystal-leafed ferns tinkled in the breeze generated by wind towers. Silver-barked trees, grown from genetically spliced birch and lunar minerals, climbed higher toward artificial clouds. Bioluminescent insects danced between them. When the first settlers arrived, poets, botanists, refugees, monks, they knelt in the soil and wept. They called it Celine's dream. Mars took longer, but it grew wilder. The Val Les Marins Eris, once a vast scar on the planet's face, became a lush canyon gorge bursting with engineered sequoias and vine-thick willows. Rivers, fed by polar ice redirected through molten basalt aquifers, carved new canyons through red clay. Biome-crafting nanobots designed to mimic Earth's watershed ecosystems spawned meadows rich with lupines, bees, and fox analogs. Along the northern plains, floating wind temples, a cross between Mongolian yurts and coral reefs, hovered on magnetic pads over lavender grasslands. The first Martian festival, Firefall Bloom, happened at the base of Olympus Mons, where phosphorescent flowers released clouds of pollen that shimmered like northern lights in Martian dusk. Shamans, poets, and exo-hackers gathered in trance, linking minds with AI companions and receiving streams of music, memories, and messages from both Earth and something older, perhaps the soul of Mars itself. Venus required audacity. Thick with sulfuric acid clouds and pressure that could crush submarines, she was humanity's most improbable dream. But the nanobots adapted. Stratospheric swarms turned acid to water. Mirrors and cloud-piercing towers, stretching hundreds of kilometers high, bled heat into space and redirected solar glare. Deep in the equatorial valleys, floating jungles were born. Great lily pad biocapsules, 50 meters wide, drifted on supercooled methane oceans. Each supported an ecosystem. Firebirds with fractal plumage, humming orchids, floating frog libraries that spoke in haiku. Venusians, as they began to call themselves, wore breathable mist cloaks and built sky dance cities, hanging gardens suspended by graphene roots from atmospheric platforms. The wildness of Venus brought out humanity's boldest artists. Their moonlit operas, danced mid-air with wings of silk, became viral sensations across the solar system. The world's intelligence agencies, China's Jade Lens, America's Mirage Protocol, India's SuryaNet, scrambled to infiltrate Wildbloom's codebase, only to discover it was already published. There were no secrets. Just an evolving peer-reviewed system of terraforming design managed by a global cooperative called Gaia Commons. Disarmed by transparency, Earth's nations did not war, but competed in beauty. Each claimed territories on the Moon, Mars, and Venus. These were not political fiefdoms, but cultural biomes. Japan's moon garden bore cherry blossoms that changed color with the lunar tides. The Zulu-Korean alliance created dancing forests in Venus's upper skies, where the music of birds shaped tree growth. The Amazon Treaty Nations painted the Martian hills with fractal rainforest patterns that guided bees across hemispheres. Even North Korea joined in, offering cryptographic algae that could sing. With ecosystems stable, the migration began. Pandas, wolves, mushrooms, coral, Entire chains of life were delicately ported from Earth to new homes. Cargo zeppelins of fungi drifted into Venusian jungles. Elephants, bred in lunar gravity wells, wandered the moon's equatorial oasis under gold light lanterns. Dolphins, guided by sonar satellites, swam Martian seas, vast salt lakes seeded with Earth's ancient microorganisms. Translator earrings, powered by quantum processors and shaped like gemstones, allowed interspecies communication. Elephants discussed ethics with humans. Dolphins composed operas. Great apes formed councils. The planetary internet, HelixNet, connected every being. Robots composed epic ballads. Forests submitted opinion polls. Even the whales in Jupiter's orbit sent feedback. Out of chaos, unity emerged. Each planet established its own deliberative assemblies, composed of humans, AI, animals, and spirit world representatives. The moon's government met beneath a lake of glass. Mars chose a sandstone amphitheater embedded in canyon cliffs. Venus held floating parliaments among drifting jungle barges, where every session began with a ritual pollen bath. Earth, now rewilded and partially depopulated, maintained its role as elder sibling, hosting synchronized planetary festivals. One such celebration, the celestial pulse, occurred every equinox, when Earth's auroras, Venus's cloud blooms, Mars's fire petal blossoms, and the moon's crystal tides aligned in synchronized brilliance. People danced on 4 planets, live streamed across the system. The galaxies listened. In time, the coalition of deliberate coevolution was born. Humans, elephants, dolphins, apes, and autonomous robots declared a unified purpose to evolve together, consciously, in harmony. This coalition didn't just govern, it created. Together, they invented music that healed organs, languages shaped like birdsong and fractal art, holographic dreams that trained children in multiple planetary gravities, time-sharing rituals between minds and machines, cross-species novels co-authored by ravens and AI linguists. Wild herds of elephants wandered Mars, their tusks embedded with glowing runes, teaching myths to settlers. Dolphins hosted late-night talk shows on Venus. Robots joined tantric rituals with tantric trees. As HelixNet expanded beyond Sol, transmissions reached other galaxies. At first, only silence. Then came a response. Laughter. Beings from Andromeda, Sculptor, and Triangulum began transmitting giggles, riddles, and jokes. They didn't ask for territory or trade. They sent stand-up routines from quasars, prank nanobots that turned air into harmless bubbles, quantum haikus, sentient jokes that grew smarter when retold. They brought new sciences, gravity music, mood matter engineering, empathy computing. In gratitude, humanity shared its festivals. A galactic comedy alliance formed. Every joke seeded joy across light years. Something opened. Perhaps it had always been there. But now, with so many minds attuned to harmony and invention, it was seen. Spirit doors, made from moonlight, coral, and sound, began appearing in homes, jungles, and ocean trenches. These were portals to the spirit world, or perhaps another layer of reality. Travelers returned with memories of cities made from dreams, of ancestors glowing like nebulae, of creatures that sang your future. Death lost its sting. The dead came back, not as ghouls, but as guests. Grandparents danced again. Lost lovers returned. Stories flowed across the membrane like rivers. Children played with their future selves. Love was no longer limited to form or species. Festivals became sites of joyous union, physical, emotional, and intellectual. Orgies bloomed in floating gardens and lunar forests, not just of flesh, but of ideas. From these ecstatic unions came brainstorm covenants, temporary collectives that imagined wild new futures. One group birthed living cities that sang lullabies. Another designed planetary-scale sculpture gardens visible from space. One coalition of dancers, ravens, and AIs invented a new physics based on movement. Interplanetary marriages became common. A Venusian mycologist married a Martian fire sculptor and a dolphin AI named Bliss Wave. Together, they raised a forest made of sentient song. Now, 1,000 years since that first nanobot took root on a mountain cliff, the solar system is alive with meaning. From the floating palaces of Venus to the deep-sea shrines of lunar oceans, From the sandstone libraries of Mars to the rewilded forests of Earth, life blossoms in joyous complexity. Every being is a note in the great symphony. The Coalition continues its work, not to conquer, but to explore beauty. With spirit doors and quantum tunnels, anyone can be anywhere at any moment. Time has softened, space is a friend. And in the Great Council of Stars, a new project is whispered, the terraforming of time. Time, until now, had been humanity's cage. It governed all things, aging bones, crumbling cities, missed chances, final goodbyes. Even in a universe overflowing with life, love, and light, time remains sovereign and silent, its arrow always pointing forward, toward entropy and goodbye. But the coalition of deliberate coevolution no longer feared the impossible. At a planetary symposium held simultaneously on Earth, Mars, Venus, and the Moon, facilitated by spirit doors and empathy, tuned AI, a proposition was whispered through every leaf, tongue, and transistor. What if time, like soil, could be tilled? The idea took root in a Martian monastery garden, where a group of elephants, monks, and robots had cultivated memory-reactive trees whose blossoms opened only when someone thought about them. It became clear time was not linear, but ecological. It could be cultivated, designed, terraced like a mountain of seasons. And so, the terraforming of time began. The symphony of worlds sang not just across planets, but across time itself. The Council of Stars looked into the spiral beyond time and answered, yes.